Hey everybody, we're back. Sorry about Jason last week. So today's topic, we have a good patient of ours, Philip Musial, that wanted to know about sleep and the pineal gland, or the pineal gland. Pineal, yeah. So we're gonna talk today about sleep-related problems related to the pineal. What are its functions? What are things that can affect it in a negative fashion? And again, maybe some easy solutions on what you can do to improve that, right?
Yeah.
So Sean, like when we're talking pineal, so for you, those of you that don't know where this is, so if you were to picture the brain, the pineal is actually kind of almost the anatomical center of the brain. So it's a very, very small gland that is kind of
geometric center.
Right? Yeah, it is geometric center between both midpoints of the head, and then from top to bottom you'll find it kind of like
just above the cerebellum,
right in the middle,
just above, between the large brain and the small brain. Yeah.
That's right. So and throughout history, there's been tons and tons of philosophers in that have discussed that. Is this the actual seat of the soul? Like a lot of people are coming up with the conclusion that would be where that happens.
Consciousness,
the third eye are all located in that area.
Yeah, connection to God. It's a pretty. It's actually one of the most interesting endocrine glands of the body, right? It's a fascinating gland, and so
basically what it does is they always they'll term it as the metronome of the hormonal system. So it's basically controlling the cadence of the circadian rhythm, which is basically night and day, how cycles. We follow light. Right. So the pineal uses the eyes to respond to light, which has the impact on the nervous system, which controls how it works.
And why they call it the third eye, actually. So in different throughout time, different philosophers have studied this gland, and they've named it the third eye because of that connection to the light that actually has an effect on the pineal gland. They've also, in some of the studies, they call it the sixth chakra or the seventh chakra.
Yeah.
Which again is it just demonstrates the importance. This gland has been studied for thousands and thousands of years.
So a lot of links to like we were saying, that circadian rhythm, that how we follow the light cycle of the earth. Then impacts on sleep because of its melatonin production. Then you have menstrual cycle. The starting of puberty is related to the pineal as well. So
to the decrease in production of melatonin. So when you're a kid, you're producing tons of melatonin, right?
That's why they sleep so much.
They sleep, right? They sleep, 15 hours a day, babies. And as that starts to slow, right, we stop producing as much melatonin, and then puberty starts in. So it's all, like Kev said, it's the clock, right? It's responsible for the circadian rhythms, night day, sleep patterns, menstrual cycle. When we think about the hormone cycle or the balance, it's the metronome. It's keeping the beat to make sure that everything else works well around that.
So its main thing is that conversion into melatonin. So basically, it's taking serotonin and converting it into melatonin, so that at night you can sleep.
Yeah, you can sleep, and then with that melatonin, it's so powerful. You can there's cellular healing from melatonin. The steroid hormones, the growth hormones, all these things are influenced by melatonin.
Our capacity to sleep and recover, right? So to get a restful sleep, we need that. What would inhibit melatonin, like we spoke about with the adrenal talk we did, is cortisol. So your adrenal glands being overactive and being in a stressful period would decrease the amount of melatonin that would be produced in the body, thus decreasing the amount of restorative sleep that someone can get. Very, very important structure in the body to give us that hormone so that we can do our recovery during sleep.
Yeah, actually, really, before we get into it, one of the interesting things, in reptiles and amphibians, the pineal gland is actually right here on the surface, right? So they, for the longest time when they studied that, they thought that we had a direct connection, or there was a nervous system connection from that, like the pineal gland or from your eyes to the pineal gland, and what ours, I guess, over time had migrated towards the center of our body. Yeah, it's a super interesting gland. Ours actually works a little different than the amphibians. Ours is they call it a neuroendocrine transducer, meaning that we receive light, and then we build up norepinephrine, which triggers our nervous system response to your pineal gland to start storing up tryptophan, which is a building block of melatonin. So ours works a little bit differently than the amphibians or the reptiles, but again, it's the third eye.
And good point, because a lot of people take melatonin in order to sleep better, but often it doesn't work.
Yeah, it might not be what part of that
equation is off. So there could be precursors or enzymes in the beginning of that cycle that aren't doing their job. So just taking melatonin doesn't actually benefit you. You'd have to be able to produce it naturally.
Yeah, unless that's what you need, right? And that's what we're going to get into. We'll kind of give an example of how we can test the different cofactors that are involved with the production of melatonin. But most of the things that we can do to help our pineal gland and our melatonin production are all, you guys can do them easily.
Yeah, we'll get to those.
At home, by yourselves. So it's pretty fascinating how we can support the function of this gland.
Yeah. So I guess one of the things would be, well, what would be detrimental to the pineal gland, right? So what can break it down?
Yeah, why would it stop functioning?
One interesting one, which just from my reading and a lot of research that we've seen, is that there are more and more studies showing that fluoride, which if people aren't aware, fluoride is in the most water systems in the United States. In Canada, a little bit more, like in Quebec in particular. There isn't fluoride in most cities, except for the cities in the West Island. So there are Point Claire, Dorval, Bay d'Urfé, Beaconsfield, I believe Kirkland. I'd have to recheck. I don't remember if Kirkland's still in there, but St. Anne's. So the thing with that is they say that the fluoride actually has an impact on calcification on the pineal gland. So then affecting or inhibiting the one function of the enzymes that would create melatonin. So it would have a decreasing effect on our ability to have melatonin to restore during sleep.
I think actually when I was researching this, I think it's actually two of the enzymes, right?
Oh,
so
two?
it affects the enzyme that actually creates tryptophan to serotonin, right? There's a conversion that happens, and then it also affects serotonin to melatonin.
Okay. Yeah.
So fluoride is not good, and we've been led to believe that we need it, right? When in actual fact, it shouldn't be. You know, there's a reason why they don't put fluoride in like toothpaste for babies, right? They don't put it for kids.
What is it? If there's ingested a pea-sized amount of a toothpaste, bring your baby to the hospital.
Yeah, but so it's crazy. But then as soon as you're of age, start using it, right? Start swallowing that stuff. No, it's actually not good. So
which would be build up, obviously, like, so this
over
is
time.
Over time.
Exactly. This isn't tomorrow. You know, you have it today and tomorrow it's calcified, but it happens over time.
That would be one stressor for sure. One big one, obviously, in our society now is actually electromagnetic fields. So things like Wi-Fi, things coming off of our phones, all these vibrations that are in the air now are said to have an impact on the pineal. Amongst other things in the body, but especially the pineal gland. We have radiation. People that work at night.
This is actually one of the worst things right now. That
kind of opposite of that circadian rhythm, right? So you're awake when you're supposed to be asleep. So your body's totally confused about that because it uses light to actually dictate.
We talked about the connection to the third eye, right? We need daylight. We need sunlight in order to allow the pineal gland to build up, like we say, that tryptophan. To then allow it to process or make the melatonin, which then you secrete at nighttime in darkness. So if your schedule is opposite, so for all Actually, we see Jody's watching. She's a
Jody.
nurse and has most definitely works shift work. It's actually one of the most unhealthy things we can do for ourselves. Is to work those opposite schedules, because we are creatures of the light of the sun, and we need that sun for this natural production of melatonin,
Yep.
and then for the circadian rhythms of the rest of our hormonal system. So it's so, and they've even showed studies of increased cancer rates in shift workers.
Yep.
And
the opposite, decreased in certain cases of cancer with increased production of melatonin.
Exactly. So the better we produce melatonin, the less cancer rates there are.
Right.
So it's pretty important that day night. So we'll get into kind of ways of hopefully offsetting that.
Well, there were a whole bunch of other ones. Like they're looking at nutritional imbalances, changes in temperature, like from winter to summer and all this type of stuff. They have high altitude changes. They have also normal everyday stresses that can affect it for sure.
Yeah.
From an osteopathic standpoint, what I'd see a lot is more tension within the brain itself affecting the pineal, or structure of the skull affecting all the attention membranes around the brain, affecting the pineal.
Which is interesting, because one of the challenges we would do to test whether your pineal gland is affected is actually compression of the sphenoid, right? So compression of the brain to see if there's an effect on the body. So.
And they even know, we'll actually go through a little mock-up thing how will we notice that? Well, obviously there are a couple reasons, but there was one more little thing that was interesting too, that noticing deficiencies in magnesium and essential fatty acids or omegas
can lead to
in relation to
melatonin. Can lead to decreased melatonin production, increased calcification of the pineal gland. So
the one of the bigger things too we do, like when someone comes in, let's say, what would someone be saying, Sean, if we would investigate something with the pineal?
So they said early
obviously
sleep. So
right?
So trouble sleeping, trouble healing, trouble all those kind of things. Sleep, trouble healing,
just tired.
Functional problems like circadian problems. So delayed menstrual cycle, or shortened menstrual cycle, or prolonged menstrual cycle is definitely worth evaluating the function of your pineal gland. Same thing with menopause, right? So early menopause, late menopause, or different symptoms on those with respect to that is worth evaluating.
So classically, what we do is there, like we had mentioned in previous talks, there's musculature related to organ function. And normally we would test certain very specific muscles related to the endocrine system. So either to the thymus, to the thyroid gland, all these different muscles.
The reproductive organs.
Yeah.
Right?
And I actually had one this morning, which was interesting. So, we test all those, and he was strong. All muscles were strong. Then what you want to do is you want to actually take the light away from the eyes. So we cover the eyes so that it's dark. Retest all those muscles, and they all became weak. So that's just an indication to go look there. And then there's other kind of like what Sean was saying. He'll show you what some of these
some manual
ones are. So
you hold it up.
Yeah, go ahead. So testing again, having compression on the outside of the sphenoid bones like this, and then testing the muscle again would create weakness on the jaw and the mandible. Same thing. This creates a tension on the pineal, so it actually will elicit a response. So then, that being said, we'll have techniques to actually help pump that area and bring back some vitality.
Life to that area.
Yeah.
And then the nutritional aspect, right? So we talked about the conversion of tryptophan, right? So everyone knows tryptophan from turkey time, right? Everyone talks about the amino acid in turkey, which is high in tryptophan. So everyone always says when you eat, you get tired, and it's probably because you're overeating. But yes, there is a relationship to that.
That's right.
Around holiday time. So tryptophan, like we talked about, is stored in the pineal gland when you're exposed to daylight, right? So you need daylight, you need sunlight, you need the actual stimulation of our eyes and the light to help your pineal gland store tryptophan. And then it starts to convert from tryptophan with different enzymes, right? Different and cofactors that support those enzymes to something called serotonin. And serotonin, when we talk about serotonin, it's involved in different brain processes, right? Serotonin is the feel-good neurotransmitter. So serotonin is also produced in your gut, or actually most of it's produced in your gut, but a small portion is produced in your brain, sorry, in your pineal gland, and the one that isn't used for neural function is actually then cascaded its way down to melatonin with other factors, other cofactors, other enzymes, other building blocks. So this is so from tryptophan all the way down to melatonin, you have potential for lack of a nutrient or a cofactor, an enzyme that would allow that process to happen. So not only do we have the mechanical challenges or seeing if you're affected, your body, your nervous system is affected by dark, we also will test some of those
supports,
some of those nutritional cofactors, right? Oh. So things like zinc, like tyrosine, melatonin itself, right? We can test those things.
Serotonin.
But they're serotonin. So these are different pathways that we need to see if your body needs a bit of support to help reestablish the normal function of your pineal gland.
So obviously, like we had mentioned in previous talks as well, there are a bunch of other systems that come into play when it comes to sleep. We were talking about kidney function to anything that has to do with energy. So like the lungs, the kidneys, often the adrenals obviously are a major one, just inhibiting melatonin production because of the cortisol. So there are many factors that come into play when it comes to sleep. Pineal being one big one that might be worth investigating if you've done many things to try and have better sleep, but you just can't do it. That might be something worth investigating for sure.
So should we recap?
Sure, absolutely.
Why would we want to look at the pineal gland? So we said function, anything that's off with the rhythm.
Yeah.
So day, night, trouble sleeping, trouble healing, prolonged menstrual cycle, shortened menstrual cycle. Same thing. We said menopause. All these things, delayed puberty or early puberty, right? Early onset of puberty is worth evaluating the pineal gland.
It'd be very important to filter your water.
Yes.
Take the fluoride out if you're in a fluoride zone, which could really, all you have to do is look at the city you're living in and check to see if the water system is actually putting fluoride in your system.
That's awesome. So like
we actually have that at the clinic.
We have a filter.
Our system has carbon filters and fluoride filters also.
So what else can we do? So if to evaluate one thing, but then what can you guys do? So Kev said, take the fluoride out of your water if possible. Get it out of your toothpaste. Get some natural toothpaste going.
Yeah.
That's
a good idea. We could put up some ideas.
Yeah,
we'll probably have like provide 3 or 4 different kinds at home.
We'll provide some links. If you don't have access to daylight, if you don't have access to sunlight, you can get these Spectra D or these vitamin D lamps that you can then expose different parts of your body and a little bit your eyes to this. Because reality of where we live, we don't have much sunlight in the winter months. So these sun lamps are actually a really good idea to help with your body's natural production of those tryptophan, serotonin, and melatonin. So that's a good one. What else can they do? Or just try and get outside every day. Try and get some sunlight. We should do that too on our lunch breaks. So we should get outside, get some sun.
Sure. Winter's a little harder.
Or daylight, right? Avoid, like Kev said, at nighttime, reduce your access to Wi-Fi, right? So
big one.
Put a timer on your even the outlet where where that controls your Wi-Fi box so that it shuts off from 11 till 7, right? No one needs the Wi-Fi at night. So
and a case in point, like we often forget, but we try and turn the Wi-Fi off at night. When I like many of you probably use your cell phones for an alarm.
Yeah,
alarm clock. Put it on airplane mode. So
because think
your
about
alarm's
all
still
that
going to go
static,
on.
right? Think about all that stuff that your nervous system has to deal with.
Yeah. So that would be those would be kind of the major ones. If there's more questions or concerns about that, obviously you can contact us. We'd be more than happy to help you out. I don't think we know what we're talking about next week yet.
No, next week
we'll make it a surprise.
Actually, if you guys have anything, you guys can write in. Like that from Philip was awesome. This is such a cool topic because the importance of this gland, the like we say, it's the clock. It's literally the clock that helps run everything. It's the beat. It's the timing.
And I think for further talks, like we're always thinking about things that we see on a regular basis here. that could be helpful for you guys. But obviously, we'd love to answer questions if you guys have any, and they could be anything. So we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much.
And we'll see you next week. And that's it. I don't think Jay's coming back.
Amy's invited back anytime. But
Amy's fine, but Jay needs some more schooling. So we'll work on him. He'll maybe have a little return after the holidays. Maybe, eh?
Maybe after.
Give him a little break. Okay.
Thanks so much, guys.
All right, guys.
Ears and health. Have a good weekend.
Talk to you soon.